what I want you to do right now is on your sheet of paper, just draw 3 clouds similar to what you see over here. And tell me and everyone over here what you felt about drawing when you were maybe 5 or 6 years old, how you felt about it when you were maybe 15 or 16, and how you feel about it today. So in these 3 bubbles, very quickly, try and make some sort of drawing about it. But if you don't feel confident of drawing, just quickly write something in those bubbles. But what did you think about your ability to draw when you were really little, 5 or 6 years old, 16, and today? I'm going to give you just 2 minutes to do this. I'm going to just set a timer. Half a minute more. Just very quickly, what are the first thoughts that come to your mind? Yeah. Are you ready? I'm going to stop screen sharing for a minute so that I can see who's here. And if you can share what you've drawn or written, that would be great. Maybe just 2, 3 of you, just to get an idea. Anyone? Vishal, would you like to do so, or Ragini? Let's spotlight Ragini and see what she's got there. Yeah. So what did you feel when you were really little? Can you read it out maybe?
Yeah, is it blurry here?
Slightly blurred. Yes, I can't read it. So
I think I have to adjust my background.
Just read it out. Just read it out. I can see the
when I was very young, I used to admire this paper cartoons and think how people get those ideas and those drawings. And in my teens, I used to do pencil sketches like animals, like camel, those. So I used to be very confident in drawing. And now it's more of variations, like, I myself is a fine arts. I do a bit, not really, extensively. Now I'm looking forward for different variations in that, like watercoloring, sketchnoting, all different types.
Lovely. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
And it's strange, but I know that even my colleagues who are really good at fine arts actually find that, getting down to sketchnoting is unlearning. It's not like just because you are really good at art, this becomes super easy, because it's a different form. Someone else, one more person maybe would like to share. Thank you, Ragini. Okay, so let me share what I was like, and maybe some of you, unlike Ragini, who was always good at art, maybe some of you, this will resonate with some of you. So at 6, drawing was like, I never even thought about it. We drew mountains, birds, the sun, stick figures, flowers. I never judged my drawing when I was little. I felt I could draw. But suddenly, when I grew older, by the age of 16, there was suddenly a mental block. My brain just felt, hey, no, my friend's a better artist. She really knows how to draw, or so and so is really good. I had cousins who used to do these beautiful paintings and things, and I used to always feel so envious of their skills. So I never even tried. But as I got older, unlike what they used to say way back in the past, they used to always tell you that your brain, whatever learning you have to do, you do when you're really young, and then that's it. But that whole theory has changed. And today, everybody's talking about neuroplasticity, that your brain can actually keep learning right till the time that you, depart this world. And I'm getting better and better at sketchnoting every day. I see this difference in me from the time I started to now, and so much more confident. And right now, my attitude towards drawing has changed completely. If I have a pen or an Apple pencil in my hand, I will draw. Even if it's not very good, I don't mind. So my whole attitude has changed. And I hope by the end of this, so does yours, in case this resonated with you. So some things that you're going to take away from this session is that I'm hoping that you will build your confidence in sketchnoting. You'll definitely take away a whole lot of strategies that you can use in the classroom. And I'm going to give all those who attended a whole bunch of resources that you can use in the class for yourself and for your students. Yes, so I hope this time is time well spent. It's a Saturday afternoon, and the fact that all of you have come is really a privilege. So just to recap, for those of you who were there for the previous session, I had showed this.
Neeta? Ragini, can you hear Neeta, or is it my bad?
No.
No, I think she's dropped
No,
out.
I need.
Dropped out.
What is so special about it? So first of all, the biggest thing about sketchnoting is it simplifies the complex. Is my voice clear? Because I'm getting a message.
We lost you for 30 seconds before this.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, there's some bandwidth issue.
Yes.
But we can hear you right now clearly.
So maybe what I'll do is I'll just switch off my video temporarily, just so that, so it simplifies the complex. It enables connection and synthesis of ideas, and we're going to see more of that. Let's see how. Visual metaphors, using metaphors in any case, whether it's visual or even when you talk about any kind of metaphor, it helps things stick, grasp information better. It raises attention and engagement of students and of everyone, of whoever the audience is. It helps you organize and summarize your insights. There's far more clarity and comprehension because you're actually making sense of you're making sense of, you're processing the information and then putting that down. And it helps with retention because our brain loves pictures. And text plus pictures, wow. And then actually the whole process of drawing. So while John Medina talks about text plus pictures, the third input of your actual, the kinesthetic element, that also helps. It helps you make sense of things, and it's really super easy to share and communicate with people through sketchnotes. It really makes things seem less difficult, less wordy, because when Many of us, when we are confronted with a whole lot of text, our brain shuts down and says, okay, I'm going to read this later. But the moment you see something that's pictorial with less text and clear connections and everything, it just starts making a lot more sense to you. Besides this, many of you are educators in schools where, and we've got this whole national education policy that also talks about how pedagogy needs to change and that we actually need to move our education system towards real understanding and learning how to learn. Earlier, the rote culture was prevalent, but today even the NEP is talking about moving away from that culture. And it also says that art integration is a cross-curricular pedagogical approach. And they feel that it uses various aspects and forms of art as the basis of learning of concepts across subjects. So even the NEP has seen the value in both moving away from rote learning and integrating art. According to the learning outcomes for English language in the NCERT, these are two valid outcomes. And while these are for English, we're going to see how sketchnoting is useful in general, but it is there in English because when you're learning language, it's not just about learning the language, it's about helping you process information across disciplines. So therefore, one of the learning outcomes in the NCERT is taking notes and making notes while listening to TV news, discussions, speeches, when you're listening to stories and summarizing them. Another one is organizing and structuring thoughts and presenting information and opinions in a variety of oral and written forms for different audiences and purposes. So as you can see, it really ties in well to these goals as well. Moreover, everyone's talking, including the National Education Policy, about cultivating 21st century skills. Now, as you can see, these doodles that I made, I didn't take a long time making them, but isn't the meaning absolutely clear? Like critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, information, and technology. You can do all this through sketchnoting. There's a lot of opportunity to explore all this. Technology comes if you want to, when you're sharing it. One of the 21st century skills is also about not just using technology, but using media. So sharing out your sketch notes is one way in which you can help students develop that skill. And developing a repository of information that is easy to access for everyone. Okay, so I'm going to just play this really short but wonderful video by someone I admire greatly. Her name is Carrie Bauckham. She's a secondary educator in the US. And she, you can find her on Twitter as @HeckAwesome. And she really is awesome. Sorry, why did that not play?
What is sketchnoting? Kevin Thorne defines it as a form of visual.
Is everyone able to hear?
Visual writing
Yes,
by
Neeta.
expressing ideas, concepts, and important thoughts in a meaningful flow by listening, processing, and transferring what you hear by sketching either by analog or digital. Why sketchnote? Sketchnoting improves recall, memory, and comprehension. It keeps us on task, engages us, and it makes us happy. So what are the rules for sketchnoting? First, be fearless, because really, there are no rules. Sketchnoting is what you think sketchnoting is. Connecting the doodle with the words is where the power is, not in the quality of your doodle. Ideas, not art. Take in information, imagine it as an image, write it and sketch it. And the more you doodle, the better you will get. Sketchnotes are made of lots of different parts. Here are a few of the basic. First is icons. Icons are images or pictures that we imagine in our head when we read, hear, or see information. And the icons are the images or the doodles that we draw next to the information, like on a post-it note, or in the text that we read, or maybe a note card that we're taking notes on the side, or maybe in class, the class has an icon library full of doodles that go along with what we're learning about. Another basic part of Sketchnotes is a container. A container is a shape that can hold words or ideas. They help sort or organize our information in our Sketchnotes, like quote bubbles, boxes, circles, or thought clouds. They can hold a single piece of information, be used to color code our notes, used to anchor information, or even as a container library in a classroom. Planning is another part of sketchnoting. It's how we organize the information on our sketchnotes. And there are tons of different ways that you can plan your sketchnotes, from linear, up and down order, to 1, 2, 3 order, or using boxes like on a comic. Remember, like sketchnoting, there are no rules to this either. Sketchnote the way your brain works. Last up is our topic, and sketchnotes can be done about anything, from a quote you hear in a book or during a lesson, to doodling on a picture that you hear important information about, or simplified topics of one idea, to brainstorming an idea that you have. The possibilities for sketchnoting are endless. Now it's your turn. What are your ideas for sketchnoting? Where could you use them in your classroom? Where could you use them in your learning? How will you use them next? Remember, there are no rules for sketchnoting. And if anybody asks, just tell them your pencil made you do it.
So the reason I wanted all of you to see this video is because she says something really important right at the start of the video. There are no rules. There is no right or wrong in this. And it's the perfect thing to help students understand that this is one space. Sketchnoting is one space where you don't have to, get into comparisons. You don't have to be worried that what you're doing is wrong. And very often it actually corrects misconceptions, because it's a very easy way of understanding what your students have understood. So we're going to go into this. I'm not actually going into the nitty-gritty of sketchnoting itself, because that's what we did in our first session. But what I have done is I've given you a whole lot of resources at the end if you want to explore this further, all these various elements that she spoke about. There are a whole bunch of resources that I've collected and curated for you, which will be yours to practice. But for now, let's start with let's just start with a recap of what she said. So what are some of the things, what are the different parts of a sketch note? So this is your title. Generally, it's good to have the title standing out from the rest of it. Then you have a mixture of images and text. As you can see, the images are really, really basic. There's nothing complicated here. What else do you have? You have arrows and connectors so that you can show the connection between different ideas. To make my title stand out, I put it in a container or a banner. Hold this important information. Similarly, I even put the author's name in a little container. And these containers as well, they're so super simple. There's nothing to it. You can keep them as simple as you want. Then there are the different types of fonts. So here I have slightly larger font, and here I have it in a, ideally though, it would have been better now looking back at the sketch note if I had done this slightly differently so that it stood out a little better. But and that's ideal, but it's okay. You know that that's the title. It's so clear. And you know that this information stands out because it's in a separate container. And lastly, you can have people. You just need stick figures, or perhaps what I like is brick figures rather than stick figures, because brick figures show a little more movement than stick figures. And they're really easy to do. They just bring your level up. Any questions so far? Yeah, Parveen, I like it too. No rules. Yeah. Alok, if you don't mind, could you, switch off your mic, please? Unless you want to share something. Thank you. So anything, no matter how complicated it is, and we did some of this practice in the previous session. There is just like you have an alphabet to write language, doodling also has its own language, and that's called the visual alphabet. And the really beautiful part about it is these simple shapes are the key to draw absolutely anything. So here's a point, the line, this kind of angle, and you can move it whichever way you like, an arc, the spiral, the loop, a simple circle, which can be extended into an oval or into this eye shape or almond shape, triangle. Your stick figure bodies can even be triangles. The rectangle, which can be so many different things. The house shape, which can be even a basic arrow, and the cloud. So practically anything you want to draw can be done with this. So let's see this second video where he shows you. This is Doug Neal. He's another really great sketchnoter who simplifies sketchnoting to a level where anybody can do it. And that's what he says. His contention is, if you can write, you can draw. Sorry, again, that video needs to play.
It is Thursday, September 17th, 2015. I am Doug Neal, and this is Verbal to Visual Video. Today, I'm going to teach you how to draw, and the only prerequisite is that you know how to write semi-legibly. Let's get into it. So I want to start by making this connection between writing and drawing. Whether you are writing letters or drawing out a simple coffee cup, all you are doing is combining straight lines with curved lines. If you can make those two types of marks, straight ones and curved ones, then you can draw. Let's do a little bit of an experiment here. Go get a piece of paper and something to draw with.
Sorry, you might want to do this along with Doug. I think you'll really enjoy it. So try it out. Since you have your pencils and pens next to you, just try this out. Sorry.
It is Thursday, September 17th. Know how to write semi-legibly. Let's get into it. Whether you are writing letters, all you are doing is combining straight lines. Make those two types of marks, straight ones and curved ones, then you can draw. Let's do a little bit of an experiment here. Go get a piece of paper and something to draw with and follow along with me. On that sheet of paper, draw with me the following 5 things, starting with that coffee mug. For the mug, begin with a flattened U, then draw that same curved line just upside down. Then on either side, draw 2 straight vertical lines, one more flat U on the bottom, and then a little bit of a warped C for the handle. Next, draw 2 C's front to back, also known as a circle, and then straight lines radiating out from that circle, alternating between long and short lines. Next, draw 3 straight lines like this, then 3 curved lines like this, then 2 more straight lines, a curved line, 2 more straight lines, a curved line, and then color in that last piece. Next, start with a C, then do those 3 straight lines like we started the last one, another reversed C, 2 curved lines at the bottom, and then some straight lines radiating from the top. Next, start with a U, draw 2 straight horizontal lines on either side of that U, then make our 3 straight line shape that you're probably getting pretty good at on either side, then 2 straight lines going down, then connect the 2 at the bottom. Now what I want you to do is to take those 5 things that you just drew, go find somebody, show them that piece of paper, and if they can identify all 5 of those objects, then your excuse, I can't draw, is no longer valid. Get over it. Is this the end-all be-all of drawing? No, it's not, but it's a great place to start. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Nita, you're on mute.
Yeah, Doug has a lot of free videos on YouTube. You can follow him on, he's called Doug Neil, N-E-I-L-L. And while he does run some really good courses in sketchnoting, he also has a lot of free videos like this one that you can just watch. So now, I want all of you to use what Doug said, very, very simply represent in its most basic form these few things. Just use the visual alphabet, the most simple, like really make it as simple as you can. And show me representations of all these. Don't try and be artistic about this. Just be quick and simple. There are 7 items here, so maybe 3 minutes. So, yeah. Annette, do we have some music or something that we can play?
Yes, we can do.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. As you get done, you can just raise your hand or give me a thumbs up. Anyone finished? We'll come to your question, Parveen, between mind mapping and sketchnoting. They're not quite the same thing.
No, but this looks like a very nice and catchy version of. So I'm just confused whether is there some connection or no.
You can use sketchnoting for mind mapping. It's
Yeah.
like,
Okay, you can add that to your mind maps.
yeah, you can use sketchnoting to make your mind maps
Far more appealing.
more, more comprehensible and more
Okay.
representative. But not all sketchnotes are mind maps.
Yeah, thanks, Neeta.
Ragini, you're done?
I did not do two of them.
Sorry?
I did not read the list through, so I did not do
Oh,
that.
okay. I'm going to share screen again.
I think Miss Sheetal wants to show.
Sure. Thing is, let me. Anyone who wants to share their sketch notes, don't feel shy, please. Just share.
Neeta, Alok raised his hand. Alok.
Yes, Alok's hand is raised. Alok, do you want to share your sketch notes? So Sheetal's, I'm gonna stop sharing so that we can see Sheetal's.
I hope it's visible.
I've spotlit you. Yes,
Yes.
lovely. Look at this. This is great. Anybody can make out exactly what you want to represent. Super.
Thank you. And I always think I can't draw.
See, now you know you can.
Yes.
And don't forget that.
Absolutely.
If I can draw, anyone can draw.
Sure.
Sehra, let's spotlight you. Wow, Sarah, this is really lovely. Note paper. See, you didn't even, this is great. Absolutely. Exactly what we were talking about. Make it simple. Keep it simple. Anyone else? Kritika, were you tempted to share?
Just a moment. Yeah, just a moment.
In the meantime, I'll just show you mine. Annette, you can spotlight me. He just scribbles that I did in such a hurry. See, really simple. And I've shown you how even a triangle with a line can make a tree. Just the very simplest form.
Can you see? Hello?
Kritika, let's see yours. Wow, this is great. You've gone like you've not kept it simple though. you've shown us like a whole array. I love your pencil, your notebook. Wow. And your calculator even has, wow, you even remember to put those numbers in it. Super. Yeah, it's little touches like that. But you know, the whole, Vandana, would you like to share? You'll have to just, you'll have to put your video on for us to be able to spotlight. Super, look at that. You've even added some details. And you don't need, the thing is though, while that's beautiful, when you're sketchnoting, you just need to keep it as quick as possible because it's not about the art. You can do this, of course, there's no rules, right? If this is how you want to represent it, that's great. But for those of us who are not that great at putting in detail, even simple representations do. That's all I meant. Everyone's work gets honored. And don't you think that that's a beautiful thing in a classroom where every student feels that their work can be honored? I'm going to, let's spotlight Sheikh Masira. Beautiful. Look at this. There is nobody who doubts what you wanted to represent. It's so clear. And that's the whole point. Thank you so much for sharing. It's all about that, having the courage to share. What I'm going to share with you now is this resource. When I'm done with this presentation, there's actually a small workbook that I'm going to share with you that's a free resource available from the internet, which I put in here because you can build your own visual library. You can use the prompts in this workbook, and then you can build your own in your class, and make it more specific. You can contextualize it to your needs. But you and your students can get started with this workbook. It shows some samples and then lets you, yeah. So now let's get down to the meat of this webinar, which is strategies that you can actually use in class. So one thing that I used to do a lot of, and you may have noticed it in Carrie Bocham's video, where she showed you books with annotations on the side. Yeah, that's something that I get my students to do a lot. Like when I used to teach poetry, for instance, we used to talk about how poets appeal to the 5 senses: the visual, the olfactory, auditory, gustatory, tactile, or emotional. And instead of writing all these words down, we just put together these icons so that they would, next to the bit in the poem where they found that the poet was using these, evoking one of these senses, we would put these icons. Sometimes you might want to just put this as a key idea or something that's important. If the student has a question about something, they can put just 2 question marks, which mean I wonder. Or as a teacher, you can put that on your students' papers, putting question like, this makes me think. You can put 2 exclamation marks to say that something's interesting. You can make this infinity icon to show that you've made a connection. I know that there were some science teachers here. There are some simple icons that you can use to show electricity, magnetism, gravity, chemical reactions, or you might want to use these icons. The bulb is really good to represent ideas, or something that, a little thought bubble. A pencil icon, obviously, something that they can write about. What I observed, or maybe discuss. Now you can use these things in your presentations, you can draw them on your blackboard as visual markers for your students to know what is expected of them. So what do you think about this idea? Now this is a great time for whoever would like to unmute and say, do you think that this is a useful application? And how might you use it in your own discipline? There were some early years teachers here.
If I may come in.
Yes.
So to that, what I comprehend from the question is how we can use this strategy as to things. So I think if I'm an earlier teacher, if I'm doing a recap, and if I can have whatever I'm teaching as part of sketchnoting as I am teaching, and then make the child actually read that as a recap instead of me as a teacher doing it, just facilitate the whole recap of whatever the concept is, that gives a lot of boost to the earlier students, I feel.
Absolutely. Another way that we used to use icons, Sheetal, in the early years was their timetable, the day's schedule. We used to make little sketch notes on the board so that they knew what's going to happen when.
So
And
a lot of rebus reading can be replaced using this kind of a thing. So we do the rebus reading, which are the pictures, but then we can ask that the rebus word can be represented by the child itself. It's simple, like simplifying it, than how we were taught that the tree has to be this way only, or
True.
Yeah, so we can just have them represent some words, maybe. Yeah.
That's a great application. Anyone from some other discipline that would like to say how you might want to use this strategy?
So there are a few responses in the chat box.
Okay, let me just read them out. Yes, exactly what Sheetal said, Parveen. Early writing. Shubhadra added that adds so much value for visual learners, which is why, yes, I said that, you can use it. And not just in early years, sometimes even in higher classes, I've found that when we use sketch notes, like just little icons on the board, the students really pay much more attention to it than when there's a lot of writing on the board.
So I also see for high schoolers or students who are from the middle school, high school, if they start learning how to do this, it's a great way to. It's more like a shortcut where you're making your own notes and you can create your own symbols, which makes it easier for them for their learning process. Yeah.
Totally, Shubhadra. In fact, at our school, we used to, I'm no longer there, but our art teacher actually had a module on sketchnoting right from the time that they were in first grade. So she would introduce this as something that they did right from grade 1. And by the time they came to grade 5, they made these, they were so adept at it. It came to them so naturally.
Amazing.
And it was done by the art teacher, but it can be done by the homeroom teacher or the class teacher. It doesn't have to be done by the art teacher. Like this kind of stuff, anybody can do. It doesn't have to be an art period. But it's just that, it gives it a little more, the art teacher can perhaps just lead the direction. It's just a thought.
In fact, I think it can also be put in as a curriculum with the ICT.
Totally.
So it just goes, hand in hand with, the art teacher, of course, doing it, but eventually also digitally how the child can make it easier. Yeah.
Absolutely. So another way we use sketch notes are, we all have emojis. Everybody's now so into emojis. So just a useful check-in when you start the day. Hey, how do you feel today? And each one of them just draws their feelings. And, maybe you could have a class chart like this. Or you could get them to design their own. Like it doesn't have to be limited to these few feelings. It could be anything, but these are just ideas for them. And then getting them to express this is so useful. And look at what this teacher has done. What's the strengths you use this week? So each one of these colors, like even angry, can be used positively. I really like that bit where it wasn't being left at I'm angry or I'm feeling sad about something. Okay, what are you going to do about it? How can you use this negative feeling in a positive way? How can you use it as a strength? That's a really brilliant concept. Then another way to check in is maybe just, draw your day. Starting a Monday with draw what you did on the weekend. It's such a great way to get to know your kids, get to really connect with them. So I don't know if anyone, there is this strategy that we used to use in school called Connect, Extend, Challenge. Ragini and a few others here who are familiar with Harvard Project Zero might find that very familiar. Are there any connections that you can make to this? Is there something that you want to extend, or is it something that you want to challenge? Unmute yourselves and please share. That's right, Ranjana. They are visible thinking routines. So any connections you can make? Because, it doesn't have to be only the class teacher who does check-ins. Even as a maths teacher or a science teacher, when you enter the class and you do this little check-in, makes your kids feel like you care about them and that you're not just there to teach them a subject, that you're there to engage with them and make connections with them. So, one thing that just popped into my head as I was talking about this, like one application I can think of for Draw Your Day for kids in maths or science is, because maths and science is everywhere, and we often think of maths and science very much like problems in a book. And we don't realize how much math we are using in our everyday lives, every single day of our lives. Right from, like, my husband's got COVID, to measuring his temperature and his oxygen saturation, I'm using measurement. When I'm in the kitchen, I'm using all kinds of science and maths. When I am driving or walking, I'm counting how many steps I made. So maybe you could get them to say, draw some way in which you used math or science yesterday, and see the different answers that you get. How does that sound? It's not social emotional, but I'm just using this DYD strategy. I'm connecting to it. Anything else that you can think of? Or should we move on?
I remember using this bulb prints for children who does homework, using math can be solved in different ways. So if you find it something interesting as a teacher, you just put the bulb mark there, then it's like appreciation for the students, like you did really think well.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Then, maybe you'd like to just take a quote and, something that they need to really remember. It could be something that you want them to stay with. This is, of course, a quote from, it's about struggles or something, but it could even be a quote by a historical figure, or even a definition or something. Yes, Parveen.
While we were talking, I just thinking that this will be very useful for children with special needs, because they find it very difficult to write. Some children who have dysgraphia may not be able to write very legibly. So why not give them this opportunity to sketch note, and they will still give you the answer with a sketch note.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I was thinking how we can use it with those kids.
Totally. And that's what we do a lot at our school. We used to do that a great deal, getting them to, in fact, we're coming to that just in 2 minutes. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, again, I don't want to talk. Let's do a little bit. Let's think of a quote, something that something, anything that pops to your mind, or just quickly Google something and try representing it through a sketch note. Just like what you saw earlier, write it. You don't have to make it so fancy at all. Just keep it really simple, like we said, but express it in a mixture of words and images. Just take any quote. So again, I'm going to set a timer for what? For a minute and a half. I hope everybody's pencils are busy. And you know, the reason why I said pen rather than pencil is because pencils, you can actually erase stuff, right? And then that whole thing of I must get it right comes in. The whole idea of using pens directly on paper is that, so what if I made a mistake? It's okay. Yeah. Anyone wants to share quickly? Something that they had done? While you're kind of getting ready to share, you know, this is something I did for our auxiliary staff for during COVID. I made a little poster of this for them to tell them how to use N95 masks. Just see how simple it is, but just that, you know, you need to use a fresh mask every day and store it in a paper bag. So this was just something I had done. This was my version of a quote that I had put up on World Reading Day. I mean, it doesn't really need to be as elaborate as this. It was just because I was doing it for a purpose. Yeah, but now it's time for you to share. Anyone?
I don't know if you can really see this. I'm trying to do it in a...
Nice. Yeah, look at that. See, this is something that kids can, you know, really relate to. These are getting kids to actually think through their problems, right? Is that what you had in mind? Find your own solution.
Need is a friend indeed. So something about, you know, a child is in trouble, a friend comes and helps. And
nice.
Thank you.
See, you need to have the courage to share. That's very important. This is a space where nobody needs to feel judged. Yes, Ragini. Let's see yours. Something awesome. I can see a banner. I can see awesome.
Make today so awesome. So yesterday gets jealous.
Wow, I like that. Make today so awesome. And all of you are doing exactly that. You're making your today so awesome. And you're going to make tomorrow for your students well. Very soon. Totally awesome too. Thank you for sharing that. That was lovely. Sahara? Oh, you've done a rebus thing. Nice. I love to see water and the fish. Let's try and read this. And something tree and I love my house and my friends. Did I get that right?
Tree and fish, right?
Very nice. See, rebus reading. Super. Thank you all for sharing. So Parveen was talking about how students can synthesize and show their understanding of really complex things through sketchnotes because there are a lot of students who don't enjoy writing or really find it difficult to write. But I would say that honestly, all kids, this is really great for all kids. It's not just for kids with special needs. It's very helpful for children with special needs. But here, this is a paper, it's a one-pager on climate change, where this kid has put down everything. And look at all the stuff that they've got here. What are the goals? And this child has actually been asked to create a one-pager and define it, etc. But look at everything that the child has put. Pollution, methane gas, how air pollution is affecting everyone, how climate change is happening. And here this child has discussed, how different landforms, it's all about tectonic plates. So this is in geography, showing their understanding of how mountains are formed and how landforms come to be. This is a one-pager on Macbeth. Now, this is a little elaborate, but the kids who really enjoy this kind of thing, they've put a quote here, they've put a picture of the main character and quotes from Macbeth. Then here, this is about the, something to do with Native Americans. This is a one-pager on acids and bases. A one-pager is basically where you give the students a template, tell them what goes into what you expect from the different boxes there, and you ask them to express their knowledge through that. So why does everything have to be an essay? Why can't they show their knowledge in this manner? And there are various templates that you can use. The layouts can be the way you prefer, but it's good, it's helpful for them to know what goes in which one, so that they don't just, that there is some common understanding. So probably the title will come here, something visual might come in the center. Here in these stars, you might want them to put bullet points, some key fact in this container here. You remember how Carrie Bockham spoke about the importance of having different types of containers to separate information, to make it stand out. So people can play around a lot with the way they write things, with their icons. They can play around with containers to make information that needs to stand out. And this is a really simple template as well. This is a template that you can use if you want kids to go beyond, like, maybe if they are going through a news item or something in history, or there are so many applications for this. You put down the title, who did this, when did they do it, what, why, where, all the key vocab, and maybe some free drawing space. They can, of course, put icons even over here. So some other ideas are storyboarding, visualizing, like when you're reading aloud to them, you can actually get them to visualize what you're saying, or a poem can be visualized. To make visual vocabulary lists for different languages, for the words to really stick. Parveen, you had mentioned mind mapping. You can use it for brainstorming and mind mapping. You can use it to make timelines. It doesn't all have to be text. For describing processes and procedures, whether it's in science, whether it's in procedural writing. And this is an application that's really, really important. How about if they sketchnoted their story problems? Every year I come across teachers who, especially in the early years, they say kids really struggle with figuring out story problems because there are comprehension issues. Now, if they were to break it down, it would be so great. They'd understand it so much better. So I've given you a whole lot of ideas, but we said this is a community of practice, and let's share with each other. I've just kind of wanted to spark some ideas, but like I said, I'm no expert here in the various disciplines. Now that I've stimulated your thinking, Annette is going to open up breakout rooms, and maybe if you could get together in your breakout rooms and discuss with each other, because really the best way to learn is from our fellow educators. They have you all probably have much better ideas. So I'm going to stop sharing, and for the next 5 minutes, if you could go into breakout rooms and discuss more ideas.
Yeah, Neeta, we have the breakout rooms ready. Shall
You
I
can
open them?
them.
Yeah. You all must have received the invite. You all can accept it.
The task is clear, right? You're going to brainstorm ways on how to apply these things in the different things that you do every day. All of you fabulous educators do every day. We can set a timer for 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Yasmin, Tapas, Siddhika, Mridula, Kashmira, Griselda, you all must have received the invite. You all can join your breakout rooms.
So room 2 has only Sheikh Masira.
Yeah.
Maybe we could move her to another room.
I'll move her to room number 1. Griselda, Kashmira, Mridula.
Hey, Archana. Archana joined. How cool is that? I'm sure it's Archana Kumari.
Yes, yes.
Nice. Mridula, Yasmin, are you having, and Siddhika, are you having trouble joining the breakout room or?
Yes, this is Kashmira, a slight problem with the connectivity.
Okay, okay. Maybe the ones who are here in this, you don't have to join a breakout room. You could discuss it here. Don't worry about going to a breakout room. Just unmute and talk. Great to have you all back. I hope your discussions were engaging. Would be great. We had about 4 rooms. Actually, one room we collapsed because there was only 3 rooms finally.
Yes, we had 4 rooms actually, 1, 3, 4, and 5.
So maybe we could have just a little bit of sharing as we come to the end of this session so that we can crowdsource more ideas. And while you're talking, I'm going to add them to the list that I had made. So it would be great to have some more suggestions about how we could use Sketchnotes. Just unmute and talk. So Shubhadra, do you want to share what you and Archana were discussing, how you thought of using it?
Yeah, I think, like I told you, the first thing which came to my mind was using it as a marking, using it for marking, especially for teachers, if we could formulate templates where it becomes symbols where kids, parents, and teachers are aware of, which symbolizes what. And a kind of a self-evaluation tool where the child actually knows, maybe the symbol represents I've reached here, the next symbol. So they actually can do it by themselves. They say, okay, I've now reached the symbol, and something like you use the word, the learning pit. So I thought that's something very, that's the first thing that, I could take away from those symbols. And I thought, how will it benefit even the little kids who can then create their own symbols of learning and where they have achieved, where they are reaching. Yeah, and I think, Archana, a lot of talk happened. Of course, it couldn't finish in 50 seconds. Yeah, where I got to know that, she could use this for a lot of other teachers, which was very interesting. Yeah.
Kashmira, I know that you were all alone, possibly. Did you come up with any ideas as you were thinking through this? Anyone? I don't want to put anyone on the spot. I don't want to call out names because that's not fair. But
Neeta,
yes,
can I add? Yeah. So what this was a new thought in the group. We had a Hindi teacher. So she said, it would be so interesting to use this for Hindi language. I always associate this with English.
Yeah.
Your mind works on one track. So sketchnoting, I would only think of English, but you can also use it for other languages. And it will become very interesting for children to learn that language because you're using sketchnoting as a technique.
So in fact, Parveen, we've been encouraging our Hindi teachers and Marathi teachers also to use it so that, there is stickiness.
Right.
So using it with vocabulary in different languages and even converting the letters of the Hindi alphabet into Sketchnotes so that, like there's this, it's almost like word art, like you take
that's what the
and
teacher
make
said.
something out of it that begins with K.
Yeah, so they remember the formation as well. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, in our room, me and Kritika were there. She actually uses, she's a biology teacher. She uses it for cheering up the students in the morning every day. She doodles every day. They look forward for her to, give some hints what she's going to teach through her art. It really excites them. And also she represents like her interest towards the subjects through her art. That's what she has shared. And whereas I put it in my classroom context of math word problem, as we were discussing. For me, like for young learners, I feel like, reading a word problem and converting into numbers, maybe for some children it is challenging. So what I thought was, I used, in fact, I give boxes for them so that they represent the number of objects through drawings. That I use a lot actually in my homeworks and stuff like that. Before they start, I give them example, like I show them how to do that. So that's what we've discussed. Also, I've shared another experience of my own, where my son's, when he was in grade 4, in his history classes, that social sciences, he used to, in his book, it was in 2010. Then the sketchnote and all, I was not aware. So he used to draw Spartans and Romans characters in his books.
Nice.
That fascinated me so much, the way he was representing note taking that way, and he was engaging himself. Then after that, I never had the feeling of doodling while they are in classroom is not wrong or bad, or uh, diverting them from the discussions from the class. So all those experiences I've shared.
Super.
It was great knowing Ragini ma'am. Nita, I just had fun and really informative. She's really, I mean, I could not imagine math word problems, the scariest subject I feel put into such a fun learning way and
That's
practicing
it.
it. Yeah.
Because half the problem with math is that because there's so much pressure on kids to get it right, to do it fast, unnecessarily, when that should not be how math is taught.
Absolutely.
It should be a joyful process. We'll never have math phobia again if teachers like Ragini are there, who make math joyful. Thank you so much. You can, share more ideas on the chat. We're coming to the end almost. So I'm just going to take a couple more minutes. Can you see the screen? Is something visible or is it black?
It's visible.
Okay, great. Because when I was sharing, it didn't show up. So just to, synthesize again what we've been talking about, let's just, very often when we were young, if we were like Shubhadra was sharing that even today, she loves making little doodles when she's taking, even in meetings and things. And nobody tells her that, Shubhadra, you can't do this, right? But we do, many teachers do this with their students. They think that they're being distracted, but it's actually perhaps for many of them a way to focus. In fact, encourage it by providing them with supplies, model it yourself, encourage them to build their visual vocabulary. This is where you can bring collaboration skills. You can make that class icon library together and have a lot of fun, and celebrate everyone's doodles. Don't judge them for their artistic merit. Judge them for their ideas, because that's what it's all about. Ideas, not art. And also get students to very quickly, just put in that little bit of reflection in it. What icons do I use over and over again? What feels good or is easy for me to draw that doesn't take the focus away from what I'm learning? In which manner do I like to, and these are questions you can ask yourself as well as your students. What structure do my sketch notes take on? Like I have usually this very, I usually put my sketch notes when I'm listening to talks and things in clouds, and then I build the connections later. Where am I putting my title every time? I tend to put it on the top, but I know some of my colleagues who sketch note like to put it in the center. So do I need to move it? And I've thought I need to think about that. And here, as we come, I'm just at the 6:01 mark, and I'm not going to keep you much longer, but just wanted to show you that I'm going to share all these awesome resources with all of you, where, which you can use once this webinar is over. And thank you all for your time. I hope the time went by quickly and that you didn't really feel bored or when is this going to get over? I hope you had fun, because I had a lot of fun with you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And I hope that, the takeaways that we discussed, I hope you're all going away with those things. I hope I was successful.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neeta.
Thank you, Parveen, for your kind words.
Neeta, can we share the feedback?
Yes, please. I think people have already started leaving. So you
Yeah,
better
yeah.
fast.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Neeta. It was a very insightful session.